Today is day number 1 of 4 days in a row. Severe weather threat to our newest risk, and the tornado threat we're tracking closely.
Base down and on the ground. Base down on the ground.
New video showing the tense moments leading up to the deadly shooting of a 15-year-old suspect. 5 officers now charged after opening fire.
I have reaction to these late-breaking developments.
And while you were sleeping, your state lawmakers were voting.
Lawmakers here past midnight with fiery debate and controversial bills. What you need to know.
Local, late breaking. This is KOCO 5 News at 6.
Right now, we are tracking the threat for severe storms tonight, tomorrow night, and into the weekend. We thank you so much for joining us here at 6 o'clock. I'm Evan Onstock.
A busy next couple of days. I'm Jessica Shambach. First Alert Storm Command out right now, headed to the part of the state where the risk is greatest. Chief Meteorologist Damon Lane now with the timeline. Damon.
Yeah, certainly where we see that greatest risk is going to be just from Oklahoma City up to the north. This is a marginal threat from 7 o'clock until 2 a.m. and then a small sliver where we have a slight risk for severe weather up towards Ponca City, where the main concern will be hail up to the size of quarters from Oklahoma City, Kingfisher, Watauga, Enid, Fairview, Stillwater, Perry, and then a $half size hail threat just north of Ponca City, right along the Oklahoma-Kansas state line. So, yeah, field meteorologist Michael Armstrong and Storm Command out right now. You can see the winds have been blowing all throughout the day. Really, for the last couple of days, the winds are going to come down a bit during the overnight, but right now not finding any storm clouds there in the sky. Let's go back over and show you the latest with Predictor, because what we will notice, we will see 2 storms develop this evening at 9:30. Here will be storm number 1 developing right near Weatherford. That is going to move up into northern parts of Canadian County, just outside of Piedmont. That's going to be your quarter-size hail threat. That will go up in towards Stillwater and Payne County. Storm number 2 won't develop until after midnight. You can see right there from midnight to about 1 and 2 o'clock out across northern Kay County. And that is where we're going to see our risk for $half size hail. So only looking at 2 storms for tonight, but we're not over with the threat just quite yet. Another threat tomorrow, Friday, and Saturday. The tornado risk we're now watching closely coming up. Jess?
Thanks, Damon. 5 Oklahoma City officers charged with manslaughter for the shooting death of 15-year-old Stavian Rodriguez. He was the teen shot and killed by police during an armed robbery in November. Body camera video from the officers involved just released today. And this case has since sparked a number of protests and even lawsuits against the city.
KOCO's Paris Jones has been following this story from day one, and he joins us live tonight. Paris, you have some reaction from some people in the community.
Evan, that's right. Some supporters of Stavian Rodriguez say this is just a small step toward getting justice for Stavian, but they also say this means nothing if there isn't a conviction.
At the end of the day, he was an unarmed 15-year-old child. When he was shot, his gun was already on the ground.
5 police officers charged, and some in the community left stunned, like Adriana Laws, who has been advocating for the Rodriguez family since the night of the shooting.
We're happy to see charges filed. We're just ready to see it through with convictions.
Stavian shot and killed during an armed robbery at a convenience store last November after police say he did not follow commands and made suspicious movements. Today, police releasing the body cam video of that night. You can see on surveillance video Stavian dropping a gun, then reaching toward his back pocket before several officers opened fire. Authorities say those 5 officers all unnecessarily fired lethal rounds at Stavian, which caused his death.
I think when any child dies in our society, we need to look for accountability, and that search for accountability is in the form of these charges, or at least the beginning of that.
Chad Whitehead says he's advocating for Stavian and hopes today's charges will lead to changes within the police department.
Stavian Rodriguez reminds me of every other kid in a middle school or high school, every other kid in a youth group in this city. And the OKCPD took away our community's chance to try to redeem Stavian Rodriguez. And that's something that should bother every single citizen in Oklahoma City.
Now, the other officer involved who did not fire a lethal round was not charged, and tonight all of the officers involved are put on paid administrative leave tonight. Reporting live, Paris Jones, KOCO 5 News. Back to you.
Paris, thanks very much. Obviously, we've been following this case very closely. We have statements, video clips, updates related to this case, all of it posted right now on our KOCO app. Burning the midnight oil at our state capitol. Lawmakers up until 1 o'clock this morning with another late night possible tonight. Controversial bills passing off the floor ahead of a key deadline.
KOCO Capitol reporter Dylan Richards live right now. Dylan, busy week there.
It really is, on top of it being what's called deadline week up here. A lot of lawmakers are also trying to get bills through this session that didn't make it through because of the abbreviated session last year due to COVID. The House is still at it this evening now after 5 o'clock, after 6 o'clock actually now. That's after being here until 1 o'clock this morning.
At this time, I move to suspend House Rule 11.9 for the purposes of staying past midnight.
Controversial bills passing well into the night as Democrats kept up questions and debate.
It's almost as though you're wondering when we're going to break, when we're going to give up and stop fighting this. Well, I'm prepared to go all night if necessary. Bring another bill on, and I'll debate that too.
Republicans passing a bill to require law enforcement to cooperate with ICE, one they say strengthens Second Amendment protections, another banning most government entities from requiring vaccines, and one to allow school districts to let staff carry guns, and maybe most controversial, a bill giving legal protection to drivers who are trying to escape a riot.
If you're in your vehicle and you wind up getting surrounded, you're trapped in that vehicle. If the people around you are hitting your car with their hands, with bats, with bricks, any of these things, there's a huge distinction between people being in the road and people impeding you and you being in fear for your life.
Democratic Rep Monroe Nichols wondering what he would tell his son about that bill.
We didn't do not one thing to reform the system and the administration of justice. We made it so that folks who may advocate for people who look like him can be run over with immunity. That's going to be a fun conversation.
And both chambers continue their work here this evening, continuing to hear some controversial bills. It means a lot of debate, a lot of questions. That comes ahead of a critical deadline tomorrow. Bills have to make it out of the chamber they started in by tomorrow. Then they switch chambers. Obviously, they have to be approved by the other chamber. Then they would go to the governor's desk. Still got a couple months ahead of us of this very critical legislative session. At the Capitol tonight, Dylan Richards, KOCO 5 News. Back to you.
Thanks, Dylan. Well, more help is on the way for those struggling through the pandemic. The House passed President Biden's $1.9 trillion relief bill today, and our state's unemployment agency says they stand ready to help Oklahomans in need.
As always, we do have to wait for USDOL guidance before we could administer those benefits, but hopefully it will be a smooth process and we will get that information as, just as quickly as we can to get those benefits out to you.
OESC saying once they have those details from the federal government, they'll release a date for distribution as soon as possible. Just in at 6, 2 family members of Pioneer woman Ree Drummond injured in a crash while fighting fires near the family ranch in Pawhuska. State troopers say Ree's husband, 52-year-old lad, was driving one truck and 21-year-old Caleb Drummond was driving the other. State troopers say high winds and low visibility on that gravel road caused the two to crash head-on. Caleb rushed to the hospital in critical condition. Ree's husband expected to be okay. Frontier City opening up early this year for spring break with COVID precautions in place. What you need to know before you head out for some fun coming up.